All right, we are classifying triangles, and in our Google Classroom, under the classifying triangles material, I've posted this link, and it takes you to a handy dandy little chart with the different kinds of triangles. So you can use this chart to answer the questions that come up. So it says select yes if the triangle named below exists by sides and angles. Otherwise, select no. So is it possible for us to have an acute isosceles triangle? Let's look it up. So an isosceles triangle has at least two sides that are congruent or the same, and two angles that are congruent. You will notice that these angles are all less than 90 degrees. Okay, so let's look at our acute definition. All angles are acute, which is less than 90 degrees. So yes, it is possible to have an acute isosceles triangle. Select yes if the triangle exists by sides and angles. Otherwise, select no. Is it possible to have a right equilateral triangle? So an equilateral triangle has all three sides, all three angles are congruent. A right triangle has an angle that has 90 degrees. So if all angles are equal, there's no way to have a right triangle that is also an equilateral triangle, because if it had one angle that was 90 degrees, all the other two angles would have to be 90 degrees, and that sums to more than 180 degrees, which is the total degrees you can have in a triangle. So no. Select yes if the triangle exists. Can we have an obtuse equilateral triangle? Again, the equilateral triangle has the same angles, same side lengths. It's a perfectly looking triangle. An obtuse triangle has one angle that is more than 90 degrees, so we cannot have an obtuse equilateral. No. Does an acute isosceles triangle exist? Let's look. An acute triangle has all three angles that are smaller than 90 degrees. An isosceles triangle has at least two angles that are congruent. Okay, so could all of these angles be less than 90 degrees where they're all acute angles? Yes, that is possible. Select yes if the triangle exists, otherwise no. A right isosceles. So in an isosceles, at least two sides are congruent, two angles. It has to have a right triangle. A right angle. If we had a 190-degree angle, could we have two acute angles? Yeah, we could have two angles that are less than 90 degrees. Select yes if the triangle exists. An acute scalene. So again, we need to have all three angles that are less than 90 degrees. In a scalene triangle, no sides are congruent and no angles are congruent. Is it possible to have a triangle that has three acute angles? Yes. An acute equilateral. All angles are less than 90 degrees and they are all the same. So in this demonstration, this is an example of an acute equilateral triangle where all of these angles are less than 90 degrees and they're all the same. So yes. And we're on to other things.